Good afternoon. I'm very happy that so many of you have turned out this afternoon for this very important seminar on the Indian budget that has been co-organized by the Embassy of India in Tokyo, Deloitte, Tohmatsu Tax Company, Tokyo, and Indus Law of India. And it augurs well that so many of the gentlemen from India have actually flown out to Japan for this event. For it must send a very strong message to you all that this is indeed a very serious relationship, and that India is not just all about snake charmers and the Taj Mahal and about the Incredible India campaign. That is also true, for we are a very colorful country with a very deep historical past, many wonderful places to see. But India is increasingly a very credible country, and it is that credibility that comes out through such seminars organized by Deloitte and Indus Law together with us. So I must also tell you that this last month alone we seem to have done several such events, not necessarily on the budget, but including on the budget and the Indian economy. And everywhere I find that there is a deep interest in what is happening between India and Japan. And this is not without reason, because this ferment that we see in our relations today goes beyond economic issues, beyond trade and commercial issues. This morning, for instance, I was speaking in the keynote segment along with Vice Foreign Minister Akitaka Saiki-san at a Track 1.5 event on strategic and security issues, which is all important in this part of the world and in our part of the world. And increasingly, as we've seen from the dastardly attacks in Belgium yesterday, all over the world. So ours is a relationship that is set to grow, and as Prime Minister Abe has very aptly described it, it is the relationship with the greatest potential of all. And I don't think the Prime Minister of Japan would make a statement like that so lightly. My Prime Minister has often said, when referring to Japan, that there is no country that has played such an important role in the modernization of India till now as Japan. And there is no country that is likely to play a more relevant role in the realization of India's modernization and the aspirations of its very large population, as will Japan. So that is the context in which we see ourselves today. Now I want to say a few words about the larger global and regional construct in which we are coming closer together. And this is a story which you must not only hear and appreciate, but also take back to many more people in Japan, as we do all the time to our interlocutors in India. The broad context is that the developed economies today are facing headwinds, and barring the exception of the United States and Germany, which continue to show some kind of fundamental strength, the others have been floundering with flat growth rates for quite some time. The United States, of course, remains the world's largest economy, and even the slightest growth there on an economy that is 18, 19, 20 trillion US dollars is the proverbial rising tide that can lift all boats. So we must not take that growth lightly, even if it is 2%. On the other hand, in the rest of Asia, while we have seen a full 60% of the global population being exposed for a prolonged period to 6% growth rates or more, we now must look at Asia in a context, for not all parts of Asia are showing the same kind of miraculous strength as in the past. Now China, for instance, has shown unbridled growth of 9%, 10% for a full 25-30 years, and more recently it has slowed down and now suddenly gone into a deeper downturn. And when you look at Japan and its integration with the rest of Asia, you do reach the quick conclusion that for long Japan has overexposed itself on China. And therefore Japan's China plus one strategy, or the strategy of a partnership for quality infrastructure in the region, is something that we would like to see more of. It is also a risk mitigation strategy for the Japanese economy in the long run. It makes great sense, therefore, for Japan to look at alternatives. For Japan has lots of capital and cutting-edge technologies, but it is also faced with a dwindling domestic market, an aging population, and its own fairly slow growth. You've not really seen any kind of comeback for the past many years. So it is in this context that I would say that this is a timely initiative, one that introduces to you the magic of India, and that is the future. It's not just the future for Japan, it is also the future for faltering economies like China. You should see the kind of investment, the alacrity with which the Wangda Group, the Wangta Group made a huge investment worth, I think, close to 10 billion. So, for the record, even the Chinese realize that going to India is the best thing that can happen now. And I think all of us are convinced that we would like to see more of Japan in India, for we have this deep reservoir of goodwill and political consensus across the spectrum in India on developing very close relations with Japan. Likewise, in Japan, there is a growing consensus on creating a very different kind of relationship with a growing power, an economic power like India. The government of India's focus is on creating a favorable business environment in which investments can pour into India. That is the kind of commitment and message that Prime Minister Modi's government has been demonstrating and conveying to the rest of the world. And under Mr. Modi, of course, expectations have dramatically risen about India's future economic prospects, all with good reason. And we've seen in the short span of 2 years that he's been around at the helm of affairs that the World Bank has officially declared India as the fastest growing large economy, and we will notch up 7.5% growth in 2016. And this kind of growth is probably set to go northwards even higher in years to come, given the kind of reform that we are hoping to undertake over the next few years. Cumulatively, India has taken in 59 billion US dollars worth of investments in 2015 alone. It's an annual FDI flow from all parts of the world. And if you look at cumulative figure in terms of time, it's US dollars 374 billion. I think this, to me, is uncannily similar to the kind of figures that we were speaking of in the context of China just 10, 12 years ago. We were looking at similar figures of annual inflows of 60 billion US dollars and cumulative FDI of 350 or 400 billion dollars. And if China transcended all that to make a much more spectacular economic achievement over the past decade, I am also convinced that the next decade or 2 or 3 is going to belong to India. If you go back to what Goldman Sachs said when they coined the term BRIC, then BRIC, later with the addition of South Africa, it's BRICS. And they have said on more than one occasion that all the BRICS countries, the one that is best placed to grow consistently at 5% or more, all the way up to 2050, is the Indian economy, from among the BRICS countries. For if you look at the last few years, all those that made merry on the commodity side when the commodity prices were high, such as, for instance, Brazil and Russia in particular, and of course other medium powers like Australia, they've all taken a huge hit. And if you look at the Chinese economy in BRICS, it's also slowed down. And my Prime Minister has often said that it is India that is fundamentally still showing strength of its economy, and it is literally the eye in the middle of BRICS, and so to speak, the backbone of the BRICS countries. So we together need to leverage that and achieve some quick results. I don't want to go on, but there may be a few broad points I'll make before I take my seat, because I was told that it's 10 minutes that I should speak introductory remarks, which by their very nature should not be of the order that experts after me will present to you. But the government's focus in this year's budget is on ensuring macroeconomic stability and prudent fiscal management, boosting domestic demand, continuing, as I said, with the pace of economic reforms and policy initiatives. And there is particular enhanced expenditure on priority areas of the farm and rural sector. This must not be taken very lightly, because it's not just because Mahatma Gandhi said that India lives in its villages. That was, obviously a statement of fact. But more fundamentally, even today, with the kind of great process of urbanization that we have seen in past decades, we still have about 67-68% of our population in India that lives in rural areas. And therefore, when we speak of taking development out to the rural areas, it's not like trying to convince you to take Japanese companies and go out in the middle of nowhere in India with no roads, no water, no electricity. The idea is, in fact, to do the groundwork at our end and to take you to places outside of congested urban areas where there has already been too much of development and lack of space, to tier 2, tier 3 townships, to states that are vying one with the other to bring in foreign investment, and there to create special receptacles and crucibles for your plugging in to the Indian economy, to create industrial townships, to create dedicated freight and industrial corridors, and to also enhance our connectivity through huge projects like the Shinkansen, for instance, or the upgradation of our high-speed railways, or bringing in several new metro projects. Now, many of these already involve Japan. We are today the largest recipient of Japanese ODA, and Japan today is already the 4th largest investor in India. And with projects like the iconic Shinkansen and the metro projects successfully done in Delhi and now to follow in Ahmedabad and Chennai, we will see many more Japanese companies following to India, especially to manufacturing, to manufacture in India, and to take full advantage of all that India offers by way of a large domestic demand, with 1.2 billion people, with rising incomes, with more than 250 just comprising our aspirational middle class. And above that, we offer a very large youthful population. 600 million people in India below the age of 25. This contrasts with those that are experiencing an aging population, including Japan, and we have a transparent and democratic system. So this is going to mean that India is emerging very rapidly as a very important and dynamic global manufacturing hub. And people are taking advantage already. Those that are visionary, the early birds will get there first. Just a few weeks ago, I, together with Osamu Suzuki-san, we launched the first made in India, 100% made in India Baleno car, produced by Suzuki in India and now being imported to Japan. It's also going to be sold to 100 other countries. So that message here is that India gives you access not only to a large domestic market, but also to a very large international market. And beyond that, it allows you to enhance your global competitiveness because of the lower labor costs in India. We are still in that phase, whereas China is slowly pricing itself out, as you all know. I think I've said enough. This business about tax, insolvency, bankruptcy, frankly, I don't understand it much. I'm still myself on a learning curve. But there is a great deal more that my colleagues will share with you. Let me simply say that the message that you take back to your clients, to your associates, should be that India is now ready for the world to get as much leverage as possible by convincing them to be part of the Indian landscape as a global risk mitigation strategy and to promote their own business, and especially to look at opportunities that are arising in our Make in India program, the flagship program, which is also being strongly promoted by the Japanese government. During Prime Minister Abe's successful visit in December last, he announced a US $12 billion fund in Japan for supporting Japanese companies that will manufacture in India as part of our Make in India campaign. So Make in India is one opportunity, smart cities is another, skills, training, education is yet another, and we have so many other things like Digital India. We have the recent initiative of the latest one of Startup India, which was launched by the Prime Minister in January, on the 16th of January. It's an action plan which is aimed at promoting bank financing for startup ventures to boost entrepreneurship and encourage those with a focus on creation of jobs. People like Masayoshi Son-san of SoftBank, they have already a very discerning eye with regard to startups in India, for instance, especially in e-commerce. And you can see the kind of swiftness with which he has moved into investing several hundreds of millions of dollars in companies like Snapdeal in India and certain other startups. So that is the message that I wanted to convey to you. We have moved up in the World Bank's global ranking of the ease of doing business by, I'm told, 12 slots. And we have been declared by JBIC consistently for some years now, including at the end of 2015, as the most preferred destination for Japanese manufacturing companies, both in the medium to the long term. So, these are opportunities that have arisen, and I and my team stand ready to work with you to answer your queries subsequent to this seminar, should you wish to consult us on any specific area of interest. With these few words, I wish this interaction this afternoon complete success, and if you would permit me to also say that I declare this interaction budget session open. Thank you.